So hey guys, what's up? In this video, we are going to learn about the medieval Indian history. Earlier, we have talked about the art and culture of the Dravid style. We have also talked about the art and culture in the Nagara style. If you have not checked out those videos, go ahead and check out. So without further ado, let's get started. So in this video, in medieval Indian history, as you may know that the medieval Indian history is categorized by the incoming or the beginning of the Mughal rule or Islamic rule in India. In medieval Indian history, we have two different parts. The first part is the Delhi Sultanate and the second part is the Mughal Indian history. In the Delhi Sultanate, we find that there was not one dynasty which ruled Delhi Sultanate. Instead, many kingdoms, many empires, many dynasties, it ruled the Delhi Sultanate. And what were these dynasties? These dynasties were Slave dynasty, the first one. Second is the Khilji dynasty. The third one is the Tughlaq dynasty. The fourth, Sayyid. And the fifth one, Lodi dynasty. After the end of the Lodi dynasty or after the end of Delhi Sultanate, we find the beginning of the Mughal Indian history or the Mughal period. Let's look at which were the Mughal emperors which we have to learn about. So the Mughal emperors which we have to learn about are Babur, who established the Mughal empire in India and who is known as the founder of the Mughal empire. The second one is Humayun, third one is Akbar, fourth Jahangir, fifth Shah Jahan, and the last one is Aurangzeb. After the death of Aurangzeb, we find there were many Mughal rulers, but they did not contribute anything. They did not have any major achievements, and that's why they are not that much important. Aurangzeb's death took place in 1707, but the Mughal empire ended in 1857. So for 150 years, there were other Mughal rulers also, but they were not that much powerful and they did not achieve any great feat. So first let us look at what were the achievements of the Delhi Sultanate, who were the rulers, which were the dynasties, right? So the Delhi Sultanate, it began with the Slave dynasty, but before the Slave dynasty was established in India, there were two major invaders who invaded India. The first one was Muhammad Ghazni and the second one was Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghazni, he invaded India more than 16 times and he also plundered the Somnath temple in Gujarat. In Muhammad Ghazni's time, we find that he patronized Al-Biruni. Al-Biruni is one of the important travelers and one of the important writers of that time. With the help of his account, we can understand what were the social, economic and political conditions in India at that time. And that's why his book, which is Kitabul Hind, it is important. After Ghazni, we find that Ghori also invaded India, and Ghori, after his invasion, he went back, but he left his slaves to rule in India. His slaves were in fact his generals, and one of his slaves was Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak, he is known as the founder of the Slave dynasty. He established Delhi Sultanate in India. As I have written here, he was also a slave of Muhammad Ghori. He was the first independent Muslim ruler in India and he laid the foundation of Qutub Minar. Qutub Minar, which we can find in Delhi, he was the one who laid the foundation. But before he could finish the construction of Qutub Minar, he died. And he constructed Qutub Minar in the respect or in the memory of a Sufi saint called Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki. Guys, don't confuse the fact that his name was Qutbuddin Aibak, so he made Qutub Minar. He made Qutub Minar in his own respect. No, he made Qutub Minar in respect of Sufi saint Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki. He also constructed Quwwatul Islam Mosque and Adai Din Ka Jhopda. Now we move ahead. After the death of Qutbuddin Aibak, we find Iltutmish took the reins in his hand. Iltutmish was his son-in-law and he belonged to Il Bahari tribe. He completed the construction of Qutub Minar, and after that he was the one who consolidated the whole Delhi Sultanate. As there were many small places which were not directly under the control of Delhi Sultanate, he was the one who took the control of the whole Delhi Sultanate in his hand, and he consolidated his power. He also got a letter of recognition from the Khalifa, which gave legitimacy to the Delhi Sultanate's rule. He is also famous for the fact that he started the Iqta system. So what was this Iqta system? In this Iqta system, what they used to do, they used to give a piece of land to a particular military commander. His salary was generated through this particular Iqta. Whatever revenue was generated from this Iqta, he was allowed or he was permitted to take revenue from this Iqta, and from that his salary was paid. Also, the Iqta, the revenue from the Iqta, it was used to maintain the army for that particular commander. And that person who was the head of the Iqta was called Iqtadar. So let us see Iqta. As you know, it is a piece of land given to a commander of army. He was called Iqtadar. Their salary and revenue was generated from these Iqtas. And this is the most important feature of Delhi Sultanate. Iltutmish, he also formed a group called Turkani Chahalgani, which was a group of 40 nobles. He made this group so that he could consolidate his power. And in reality, in practical terms, he is the one who is called the real founder of Delhi Sultanate. After his death, he gave the seat to his daughter Razia Sultan. As he did not have an eligible successor in his son, that's why he decided to give the throne to his daughter Razia Sultan, and she became the first female ruler in India. After the death of Razia Sultan, Balban came to power. Balban, he considered himself shadow of God, and he was the king who tried to centralize all the power. He tried to control everything. He was a very shrewd kind of a ruler. He started the practice of sajda and paibos. Paibos, as I have written here, it is the practice of kissing the feet of the king. As you can see how gross this practice was, but to establish his superiority over the others, over the nobles, over all the people in his court, he started this practice. But one thing good which he did was, he established a separate military department, and he called this separate military department as Diwani Azr, AZR, Diwani Azr. And he was a person who liked rigorous court discipline. He did not like anyone to laugh in his court. He did not like anyone to talk in his court. He wanted a rigorous discipline in his court. After the death of Balban, Khilji dynasty was established. Jalaluddin Khilji is the founder of the Khilji dynasty. But soon after the foundation, he died, and the throne went to his nephew Alauddin Khilji. Alauddin Khilji is known as the particular first king to invade South India. He tried to bring more and more area under his control. He tried to bring more and more area under his control so that he can increase his empire, so he can expand his empire. And he introduced many market reforms. One of which was that he tried to control the market prices of goods like food, grains, like cattle, like horses. He tried to maintain or regulate these prices. Why did he do this? He did this because he wanted to maintain a large army, and to maintain a large army you need all these resources. You need food grains, you need fodder for the cattle, you also need soldiers. And if the market prices were very high, he would not have been able to maintain such a large army. So that he chose to maintain or to regulate the prices so that he can maintain a large army which was ready to fight at any time. So he introduced market reforms, as I have already mentioned. He established markets in Delhi for food grains, slave, cattle, horses, etc. People got subsidized supplies to raise a large army. He also introduced Dag system. So what was this Dag system? Dag system was a particular system in which he used to brand the horse so that it was easy for the administration to remember which horse belonged to which cavalryman. So the cavalrymen or the people or the military commanders, this was done so that the military commanders, they could not collude and misappropriate the resources which were provided to them by the monarch. He also laid the foundation and built the city of Siri. In this Siri we find Siri fort. So remember this, guys, he was the one who built the fort of Siri as well as the city of Siri, and he had an elaborate network of spies, and he was the one who laid the foundation and he built the Alai Darwaza near Qutub Minar. Now we move ahead. After the Khilji dynasty, we find that a new dynasty was established under the rulership of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. He was the founder of Tughlaq dynasty. He also laid the foundation for the city of Tughlaqabad, which was named after him. After his death, we find that his son took the control of the empire in his hand, who was Muhammad Tughlaq. Muhammad Tughlaq also tried to bring many changes in the administration and governance. He introduced token currency, which was made up of copper and bronze. He also tried to shift the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, but which was a failed expedition. He also established a separate department of agriculture. So this meant that he tried to bring many changes which would have been productive, which would have been successful, but since the time was not right, these endeavors which he undertook failed. After Muhammad bin Tughlaq, we find that Firoz Shah Tughlaq took the control of the Delhi Sultanate. He was known for his public welfare measures. He built cities, he built hospitals, he built roads. He also established a city of Jaunpur in the memory of Muhammad Tughlaq. He built dams, canals, so that it could help the people, it could help his subjects which were living under him. Also, he established a separate department for the care and welfare of women. So you can see, at that time he was thinking in a progressive manner, and he established a separate welfare department for the women, for the welfare of women. After his death, we find that a new dynasty replaced the Tughlaq dynasty, which was called Sayyid dynasty. Khizr Khan. After the death of Firoz Khan, Khizr Khan, he established the Sayyid dynasty, and he was helped in his endeavor by Taimur. But we find that there was no major achievement or no major feat which was achieved by the Sayyid rulers. So we need not worry that much about the Sayyid rulers. So the next dynasty or the final dynasty in the Delhi Sultanate is the Lodi dynasty. Lodi dynasty was founded by Bahlol Lodi, and after Bahlol Lodi, we find that the control of Delhi Sultanate, it went into the hands of Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar Lodi was the person who founded the city of Agra, and he made Agra is his capital. As you can see, he built Agra in a magnificent manner. The Agra which we see today is the gift from Sikandar Lodi. After Sikandar Lodi, Ibrahim Lodi took the control. But Ibrahim Lodi is famous for a very negative thing, which was that he was the one person who was defeated by Babur in the first battle of Panipat in 1526. And after the first battle of Panipat, we find that Babur took the control of the Delhi Sultanate and established his own Mughal empire. Let's look at some of the achievements which Ibrahim Lodi was able to achieve. First is that paper was introduced by him. Spinning wheel was also introduced by him. Sericulture, which is the agriculture or cultivation of silk in India, it was introduced by him. Aragatta, which was a device to lift the water and transport it to some other place, it was also introduced by him. Alright, now we move on ahead with the Mughal dynasty. Mughal dynasty was established by Babur. Babur's autobiography is called Tuzuk-e Babri, and Tuzuk-e Babri is written in Turkish language. He defeated Rana Sanga in the Battle of Khanwa. These are the three important points regarding Babur. First one is, what is the name of his autobiography, which is Tuzuk-e Babri. In which language was it written? It was written in Turkish. And who was the person who defeated Rana Sanga in the Battle of Khanwa? It was Babur. After the death of Babur, his son Humayun took the control. Humayun was also not able to contribute that much because He also had to fight with the some other rulers, some other invaders, because of which he fought the Battle of Chausa, which is near Bihar, and he was defeated by Sher Shah Suri. And after his defeat with the Sher Shah Suri in the first battle, there was another battle, which was the Battle of Bilgram. Bilgram is a place near UP or Bihar, and again Humayun was defeated. After this, he ran away to Iran, Afghanistan, and he stayed there for 15 years, and after 15 years he came back to India and he ruled for only 1 more year, and after that he also died. After him, his son Akbar took the control. Akbar, as you all know, he was a very liberal and very religiously tolerant leader. But before that, we shall look into some of the achievements of Sher Shah Suri. Sher Shah Suri, in his 15-year reign, he also introduced some of the new policies, and he also changed the administration and governance a little bit. So let's look at his achievements. He built the Grand Trunk Road from Kolkata to Peshawar. Remember, he was the one who built the Grand Trunk Road, and from where till where he built it? He built it from Kolkata to Peshawar. And he introduced rupee in India. He was also the person who built a lot of sarais. Sarais were the rest houses which were built along the highway so that the travelers could rest there and continue their traveling without interruption. He also improved the cultivable land, and he also tried to introduce welfare measures for peasants so that they could increase their productivity and he could generate more tax from them. As I was telling you that after Humayun, Behram Khan was kind of a person who took the control of the Mughal Empire in the name of Akbar, because at the time of Humayun's death, Akbar was still a minor, and till he became major, Behram Khan took the control of the empire. And Behram Khan and Akbar, they fought against the invasion of Hemu in the second battle of Panipat. So remember guys, the first battle of Panipat was between Babur and Ibrahim Lodi. The second battle of Panipat was between Hemu and Akbar. The third battle of Panipat was between the Marathas and Ahmad Shah Abdali. But in the second battle of Panipat, which is important for us right now, in second battle of Panipat, Akbar defeated the incoming invader Hemu. As you all know, Akbar was a liberal person. He expanded his empire. He also applied the policy of matrimonial alliance with the Rajputs. Instead of fighting with the Rajputs, he used his tactics and he started the practice of matrimonial alliance with the Rajputs. He was also famous for his religious policies. He abolished jizya. Jizya was a religious tax which was imposed on the person who followed some other religion except Islam. So if someone is following Buddhism, Jainism or Hinduism, they were taxed with this jizya. He also abolished the practice of forcible conversion, and he also abolished the pilgrimage tax. So if a Hindu person who wants to go to the pilgrimage site, he had to pay a tax, and Akbar abolished this. And he founded the theology of Tawhid-e-Ilahi, and the followers of this Tawhid-e-Ilahi were the people called Deen-e-Ilahi. So this philosophy, this theology was a liberal theology. It took the good aspects of all the religion and tried to combine it into one. But this endeavor of Akbar was not very successful. Only a handful of 15 to 20 people joined it. Birbal was one of them. He issued a Mehzar. Mehzar was kind of a declaration, and he declared that he was above all laws. He did this because he wanted to establish that he was above the ulemas. Ulemas were the experts in the Islamic or Muhammadan law. So what used to happen was that they used to interfere in the administration of the empire. But since Akbar declared that he was above the laws, so now the ulemas could not interfere in his functioning. He adopted the policy of Sulh-e-Kul, which means peace between all religions. And he established a new city which later became his capital, was the city of Fatehpur Sikri. In this Fatehpur Sikri complex, we find various important structures built by Akbar called Buland Darwaza, Ibadat Khana, Jodhabai's palace, Panchmahal, etc. He had Navratnas in his court, which were Birbal, Tansen, Abu Fazl. Abu Fazl was a person who wrote Akbarnama as well as Ain-e-Akbari. Akbar introduced Mansabdari system. This Mansabdari system was equal to the Iqtidari system, which was introduced by Iltutmish. In this Mansabdari system, Mansab was a rank given to the particular person, and that rank was based on his personal position, and that personal position was called Zat. If he had a higher rank, which means he had a higher Mansab, and it was based on his Zat. And also the second aspect of this Mansabdari system was the Sawar. Sawar means how many number of cavalrymen which the particular Mansabdar had to maintain. And these Mansabdars, they were given Jagir. Jagir was equivalent to Iqta, a piece of land through which they could generate revenue, and their salaries were also paid by this Jagir. Later on, after the death of Aurangzeb, we find that this Jagirdari system, it was one of the reasons for the fall of the Mughal Empire, because of the fact that the number of Mansabdars increased, but the number of Jagirs, it did not increase that rapidly, because of which the Jagirs became small and small, and the Jagirdars, they did not have the confidence that they will have the Jagirs for a long time. That's why they tried to extract as much revenue as possible from these Jagirs, which in turn led to the exploitation of the peasants. All these aspects are interconnected, and which led to the culmination in which the Mughal Empire declined. Now let's read what I've written here. He introduced the Mansabdari system. In the Mansabdari system, the rank and position was decided by Zat, which was the personal position of the person, and Sawar, the number of cavalrymen he has to maintain. Jagirdari system. Plus, he also introduced the Dag system, which we have seen in Alauddin Khilji, that is branding of the horses, and Chehra. Chehra means descriptive role of the soldiers. He divided land into various categories: the most fertile land, the least fertile land, the land which is medium in fertility. He divided the land into these categories. He introduced new revenue methods, which were Kamkuch system, Dasala system, Batai system, and he built the Agra fort. Guys, after Akbar we have Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, and we have already discussed their achievements in the earlier blog. So you can go ahead and check out that blog. Also, if you want to check out the video on the particular topic also, I will provide the link of that particular video in the I button here. And in that video I have mentioned what were the achievements of Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. You can check out that video, and also you can check out the blog for the notes. I have also provided the link of the blog here. You can go ahead, check out the blog and the video for your better understanding. And with this, I end the video. If you liked the video, please guys do share, like and subscribe to my channel, and I will meet you guys in the next video.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.
He did not have a eligible, as he did not have an